Well, you may remember this, piles of seaweed washing ashore, creating a really stinky mess for anyone heading to the beach.
As part of our ongoing look at the changes happening in Central Florida's weather forecasting change, News 6 investigator Eric Sandoval looked into what caused that mess.
Oh yeah, when it wraps around you. It's like, is it safe to walk on? Can I get around it?
Melanie and Andy George traveled from Arkansas to visit Cocoa Beach, and this is what they found.
In your mind, you have this pristine beach, you see in all the pictures of Florida, and then you see this, and it's like, that's not what I expected.
The seaweed that washed ashore in May was so thick in some areas, shovels were no match.
The seaweed problem we're talking about is this brown floating seaweed sargassum.
Brian LaPointe is a research professor at Florida Atlantic University. He has been studying this sargassum bloom in the Atlantic Ocean since the 1980s. And he says what he's discovered over the last 10 years is concerning. He says in 2011, this floating seaweed bloom started growing, and it didn't stop. In 2014, he says it stretched into the Caribbean. It hit its biggest size on record in 2018, reaching the Gulf of Mexico and both coasts of Florida. LaPointe says it was fed by rising temperatures and rising levels of nitrogen. That same nitrogen is being blamed for feeding big algae blooms, which are cutting off food supplies for Florida's manatees, resulting in a record number of deaths. LaPointe says the nitrogen is coming from fertilizer runoff and septic tanks.
Well, I want to ask you a simple question that probably doesn't have a simple answer, and that is, what's the solution?
Well, it's like Jaws. You got to cut the food supply off.
This has been a priority for all of us, not just...
State Representative Rene Plasencia serves some of Brevard County's coastal area. He says state projects are already underway to help stop nitrogen leaching into the soil from septic tanks. But with 2.6 million of them in the state of Florida, it's not going to be a quick fix.
It's expensive. We slowly are shifting, convert our septic systems that are in close proximity to our very fragile waterways, whether it's a river, an aquifer system, or an intercoastal waterway like the Indian River Lagoon, and switching it to city sewer.
So in years going forward, do you see this becoming a bigger problem?
Oh yeah. Again, if we don't cut off the nutrient supply that is creating this uptick in this trend, then they're going to continue to worsen and worsen.
All right, so if you think it's gone, think again. LaPointe says July is the month when we usually see the largest blooms hit the beach, and he expects more to reach the Florida coastline this year. State representatives we spoke with in Brevard, Volusia, and Flagler counties say tackling this nitrogen problem is near the top of their list. And they predict more action will be taking place in Tallahassee to help combat it. Of course, we in the investigative unit will be watching that.
So many people are so frustrated by this because we've been seeing this problem for years, and a lot of people will reach out to us on social media. Is there anything I can do as a homeowner, as an individual person, to try and reduce our footprint?
Well, the septic tank issue is one of them. And if you do have a septic tank, make sure that it's fortified to process all of the nitrogen as a byproduct, because there are products that are out there, new septic tanks, that might help prevent that in the future. So, and I also want to say seaweed is good.
Right.
Fish live in the seaweed.
Yeah.
Offshore, it's a fantastic bio-environment, and it's great for the environment. But when it washes up onto the shore...
And you come from Arkansas to see the beautiful beaches of Florida.
Well,
That's
this
exactly.
isn't normal.
Yeah.
This isn't
It was
normal.
definitely not normal.
Yeah.
Eric, thank you.
Of course.